Hello everyone, it's Miss Angela from the Fort Worth Public Library. Welcome back to another Fort Worth Nature Center Discovery Club story time. Today we are talking about pecan trees. Now, out in Round Top, Texas, there's a grove of pecan trees that is very special to me, where I have spent many beautiful sunny days with good friends. Pecan trees are important to every Texan. Maybe you know why. If not, Mr. Michael will tell you all about it. Our song today is called My Roots Go Down, and it's by Sarah Pirtle, who has shared it on her website for people to use. Like me, she encourages you to make up your own verses. Today we'll be doing a verse about pecan trees and a verse about wildflowers. I'll get up in a minute and show you some of the motions, but I'll be playing along with my shaker, which I made out of a toilet paper roll. You can find instructions for how to make this shaker on the Fort Worth Library's YouTube channel in the tutorials playlist. It's pretty easy. Okay, here's our moves. First, we're going to say, my roots go down. And we're going to boogie our arms down like this. My roots go down. Can you do that? All right, next we're going to be pecan trees waving in the breeze. So put up your branches and wave them in the breeze. Okay. Next, we're going to be wildflowers reaching for the sun. So you can reach with one arm or two arms, whatever you like. I am a wildflower reaching for the sun. You could even start down and reach like this. So let's review. My roots go down, down to the earth. I'm a pecan tree waving in the breeze. Do you remember how to be a pecan tree? Waving in the breeze. And then we're wildflowers reaching for the sun. Reach, I am a wildflower reaching for the sun. All right, great. Let's sing. I want you to do your moves. Your roots go down, and I'm going to shake my shaker. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down. Now we're going to be pecan trees waving in the breeze, so get your hands up and wave. I am a pecan tree waving in the breeze. I am a pecan tree waving in the breeze. I am a pecan tree waving in the breeze. My roots go down. Now we're going to go back to the chorus. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down. Now we're going to be a wildflower reaching for the sun. I am a wildflower reaching for the sun. I am a wildflower reaching for the sun. I am a wildflower reaching for the sun. My roots go down. Now one more time to the chorus. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down, down to the earth. My roots go down. So, playing along with simple musical instruments is a great way to get kids practicing rhythm. And rhythm is actually a great pre-reading skill because so much of our language is about rhythm and cadence. Our story today is called The Pecan Tree's Best Friend, and it's from a group that used to live in Southeast Texas, and they're called the Hassanai. Now, the Hassanai use the greeting Tejas, meaning friend, and that's where we get the name Texas. One spring, long ago, an oriole family was living in its small nest of woven grasses. So in this story, I'm going to say oriole, and I know it sounds a little bit like Oreo, but oriole is a type of bird that looks like this. One spring, long ago, an oriole family was living in its small nest of woven grasses swinging at the end of a branch on a tall pecan tree. The proud parents had just hatched 5 eggs, and were watching over their babies until they could fly on their own. All day the parents gathered bugs for the little ones and sang their sweet songs. The big pecan tree liked the oriole family because they ate the bugs that tried to burrow into its trunk or eat its leaves, and so the tree and the birds got along as good neighbors. One day the father bird looked up and saw the sky beginning to fill with dark clouds. He saw flying under the clouds those great wide-winged birds called frigate birds, which live far away on islands in the Gulf. These birds only fly inland when a big storm is getting ready to rush out of the Gulf of Mexico and breathe its wild breath upon the coast. The father oriole knew this. He knew by the clouds and the frigate birds that a storm was coming, and he was frightened. When the pecan tree saw him fluttering around and around, the tree asked him what was the matter. The oriole told him that a storm was coming and would blow his 5 children away. "I know what to do," said the pecan tree. "There is a hole under my biggest branch. Take your wife and babies into that hole, and you will be safe." "Thank you," said the oriole, and he took his family into the hole and waited for the storm. They did not have to wait long. The next day the howling wind swooshed into the grove with the black clouds and rain that came with the hurricane. All the trees bent their heads as the wind tore at their leaves. Branches were stripped from the tree, and the grass nest of the orioles was soon torn apart and carried away. But safe in their hole, the oriole family listened to the wind howl and were thankful to the pecan tree. After the storm, the father oriole decided that he would help the pecan tree as soon as he got a chance. He told the tree about this. The pecan tree laughed and said, "What can you do for me, little bird?" "Wait and see," said the oriole. "Something will give me a chance to help you." He was right about that, too. One winter, all the trees and bushes in Texas thought that the cold north wind would not come. It was almost time for spring to come, and the winter had been warm. The trees thought it was now too late for the north wind to make them a visit, and they began to put out their buds and leaves earlier than usual. One day, down in Mexico, where the orioles always go during the winter months, the father oriole felt in his tiny bones that a cold spell was on its way from the north. He had heard that the trees in Texas were putting out their buds too soon. He knew that if his friend the pecan tree put out its buds, the cold north wind would bring ice and freeze them, and the pecan tree would not be able to grow any pecans. The oriole flew quickly to Texas. He found his friend the pecan tree was about to put out its buds on the limbs. "Keep in your buds and leaves," cried the oriole. "A cold wind is on the way from the north and will hurt all the trees that are budding too soon." Then the oriole hurried back to Mexico before the cold weather could catch him. The pecan tree laughed to itself and thought the oriole was wrong, but it decided it would wait until later to put out its buds. And how glad it was, for the whole next day the north wind made a late trip into the south, bringing the ice and the cold. It whooshed and blew around the country, and all the trees and bushes had their early buds frozen off. All but the pecan tree, who had been the friend of the little oriole, for this tree had not put out any buds. It was the only tree that grew pecans that year. The other pecan trees learned about the good turn which the oriole had done for them. They became the friends of all orioles from that time, and this is why you find orioles living and nesting wherever pecan trees are growing. The end. Now I'm going to pass it to Mr. Michael, who will tell you more about pecan trees, and you'll have to listen to hear why pecan trees are very important to Texans. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Perez with the Fort Worth Nature Center and Refuge. I want to welcome you back to this edition of Discovery Club. I want to thank Miss Angela at the Fort Worth Public Library for, again, that story time. I know the kids enjoy it, and we really appreciate it. Couldn't do this program in the same manner without you and your story time. So thank you again, Miss Angela, for that story. Now, we're going to be talking about trees, and I couldn't think of a better place than right here to sit under one of my favorite trees. It's called a post oak, and we'll talk about that tree and other trees a little bit later. Now, before we go into what we're going to talk about, I want you to think about your favorite tree. Think about a tree that you enjoy being next to, and why do you like that tree? I can imagine some of you are thinking about a tree that you like because you have a swing attached to it. You get to swing. Or you have a tree that has a house in it, so you have a tree house. For me, one of my favorite trees is really any tree where I can find animals, either beetles crawling on it, spiders, birds nesting. That's the kind of tree I like when I see wildlife. So think about that tree. And we're going to talk about the parts of a tree. The first thing we're going to talk about. So think about that tree. What are the parts of that tree that you see? What are the parts of that tree that you enjoy? Can you think of some of those things? Great. As you share that with someone around you, hopefully you enjoyed talking a little bit about that tree and what are some ways that you enjoy that tree. So if we continue forward, I want to show you. I have a printout from a curriculum called Project Learning Tree, and it's a curriculum that's focusing on children in pre-K all the way up to high school, and even adults. Really, you can adapt it to adult learning as well. And they cover all different aspects of trees and how we can learn about them. So one of the lessons I want to share with you today are parts of a tree. So this is called living labels. So this tree here is got different parts to it that I want to talk about. First of all, down here at the bottom, I colored in purple so you can see. Hopefully you can see that. I'll go a little closer. Those are called roots. Now, roots are very important to a tree because it anchors it. It holds it into the ground. Also, those roots allow it to get water and nutrients from underground. So these roots are very important, one of the main parts of a tree. The next part of a tree is this here, this blue area, which I colored. It's called a trunk. And the trunk is very important because it holds a lot of components to the tree that allows it to survive. There are a couple of things in there called a xylem and a phloem. Can you say xylem? Great. How about phloem? All right. So xylem and phloem are parts of the tree that allow it to transport nutrients, get food from the branches and so forth. So it allows that tree to grow. It gives them all the nutrients, the water, and the food that it needs from the leaves and the branches above. So the trunk is really part of it. Also around it, you have the bark that helps protect all these components like the xylem, phloem, and in the very middle, the heartwood. So the trunk plays an important role because it protects all of these features. The second, or third, I'm sorry, are these orange pieces. Those are called branches. Part of off the trunk, you get even smaller ones up here, right there. And those branches are actually very important because they connect the trunk to the next part, which is all the green. Those are called leaves, and you know that, right? You've probably seen many types of leaves, and later on in this program, we're gonna show you some pictures of different types of leaves and the different shapes. So the branches connect to these leaves, and those leaves are very important because that's where they get the food from the for the tree. There's a process called a photosynthesis. Can you say photosynthesis? All right. So it's a process of that tree producing and making that food that can, again, be transported up and down the trunk into the roots and so forth for it to survive. So that's what that is. And then from those leaves, you also have seeds, especially different the springtime when leaves or plants and trees are growing. They create these little seeds. And the seeds are dispersed in many different ways. Birds may eat them and spread the seed. Also, you have some type of seeds like this that have like wings, if you will, on it. And the wind blows and they just spin. And then they drop the seed on the ground. Also, you have some trees like a cottonwood, which we're going to show you a leaf of that, or what a leaf of a cottonwood looks like. They actually look like they have cotton. And inside the middle of that cotton, they have little seeds. As the wind blows it, those seeds get in the ground, germinate, and now we have new cottonwood trees, or the tree that dispersed that seed. So these are the parts of a tree. You have roots, you have a trunk, you have branches, you have leaves, and you have seeds. Now, there are other parts of a tree too, but to make it very simple, those are the basic parts of a tree. So those are the different types of parts of a tree. Now, how are trees helpful to us? Well, did you know that a lot of the everyday objects that you have in your house are made from trees? Did you know that? So I have a container right here. I want to show you various items that you may have around your house that were made from trees. And you're like, I didn't know that was made from trees. So, and then some that are obvious. We'll start with the obvious one. Things that we get from a tree. And this benefits wildlife, but it can benefit us too as humans as well. But you have these. This is a pine cone. So this came from a pine tree. And it has seeds in there. A lot of times we use these for decoration. We can actually tie some string to it, put some almond butter or peanut butter on it, and roll it around in some seed to make a bird feeder for the holidays. So we get enjoyment because we get to see the birds near our windows in our backyards. But birds benefit too. Decoration. There's so many ways that people use pine cones, and wildlife as well. Here's something that we use when we cook. So cinnamon and spices, believe it or not, you can get from trees. And there are different parts of the trees that are being used. You have the wood part of it, the outside. You have the tissue inside of it to make objects, especially sticky objects. We'll talk about here in a second. Cork. You probably seen at your school, like a bulletin board has this brown material, and your teachers will put your artwork or your work that you've been working really hard in the classroom to post it up like great, like, you know, I made A+, so then she's gonna put it, he or she's gonna put it on there. So cork board, so cork, that's made from a tree. And this time of the year, hopefully you can access to a pool safely near you, maybe in your backyard or so forth. But sunscreen lotion. This is really helpful for you during summer months, and that's made from a tree. And it just keeps going and on going. Toothpicks. These are really cool and helpful, and we get them from trees. So those are from wood products from a tree. Oh, apples or fruit we get from fruit trees. So there's so many different types of fruit trees. So apples are something that we can benefit, and wildlife as well. A couple of things I've just showed you here are more for us as people we benefit from. This time of the year, you're at home in the summer and looking for something to do. How about coloring? Who likes to color? Well, crayons are made from trees. So the tissue inside of the tree allows us to make crayons, so we can use the color with. Some sponges, not all, but some sponges can be made from trees, and these are helpful when you're helping your mom and your dad with dishes. You can wipe down dishes. Sticky materials, adhesives. Can you say adhesive? Great. So we use adhesive, sticky things to help put up pictures or things on our walls. These are very helpful, adhesives. And two more things I have. This is very important these days, but gloves. These type of gloves here can be made from tree products. Okay, so that's very important. And then cleaning solutions, wood cleaner, all sorts of stains that we use on our furniture, your moms and dads use for furniture. And there's so many more, just wood products, so we can build houses. Chewing gum, did you know that? So there's so many different things that we can get from trees that we benefit every day. Now for wildlife, I think about the fruit that comes from a tree that helps benefit wildlife. Just trees itself provide shelter for wildlife. You have woodpeckers and squirrels and all sorts of mammals and birds and reptiles who utilize trees as a home. And that's why we're a special place, because we have lots and lots of trees. And those trees are important for, I hear a bird singing, some are tanager. So they're important for birds. It's a place for them to hide and to live. All sorts of insects you find on the trees, inside of the trees, wood boring, meaning an insect that digs into a tree. Wood-borne insects utilize the tree. It's a home. It's a shelter, and we gotta make sure we protect the trees that we have so that all our wildlife have places to live. So we talked about the different parts of a tree, the roots, the trunk, the branches, the leaves, and the seeds, and how those are all important for a tree to survive. We talked about how trees are important to us because of a lot of the everyday items that we use come from trees, believe it or not. And some really strange things, like I did not know that came from a tree, and I'm sure you didn't know either. And then also for wildlife, wildlife animals, they utilize the trees for lots of different ways, shelter, food, and then they can camouflage in it. You won't even be able to see. So wildlife benefit from trees. So trees are very important, and they can be important to us as well. Not just the item, but just having trees, having the shade, the enjoyment of being under a tree. And just right now, as I'm talking to you, out in the distance, there's just a long row of cottonwood trees, and the stem of that leaf is really long, so the leaves kind of dangle. And then when the breeze comes, it just makes a soothing sound. So trees are beneficial to have items, and we make items from the tree, but it's also good for us too. The sounds they make, the enjoyment we get from sitting under and getting that shade. And as I said earlier, perhaps you like trees because you have a swing or a house attached to it. So there's so many reasons why we love trees, enjoy trees, and we need to protect our trees, and so many uses from them. So now I'm going to transition. I'm going to show you some pictures, some of the leaves from trees that we have here at the Nature Center, and share a little bit about them. So enjoy these pictures. This leaf comes from the pecan tree, which is our state tree. Back in 1919, way before I was even born, Texas named it our state tree. This tree is important because it produces pecans, which are helpful for us for food. Don't you like pecan pie around Thanksgiving? Yeah, me too. And also wildlife. Wildlife like to eat the pecans as well. Texas is one of the states that produces the most pecans in the entire country. So it's a very important tree for us. Now, when you look at that leaf there, every little green piece there is part of the leaf. It's the whole thing's a leaf. Keep that in mind. Each individual green piece is referred to as a leaflet. So the entire green you see there is one leaf. A group of trees you can find at the Nature Center are oak trees. Look at this leaf and the rest of them, and you'll see these deep curves. Some have a bunch of them, like this chinkapin oak, but others are just deep, just a few deep cuts in the leaf. That's how you can tell them apart from other trees. Now, they do produce acorns, some very large ones like from the bur oak, and then smaller ones. Now, there are some oak trees that don't have lobes. For example, this live oak has a smooth entire edge, and it doesn't have any lobes, but it's still an oak tree. These leaves come from a cottonwood tree. Now, I did talk about them earlier in the program, talking about the seeds and how they're dispersed by the wind, spread by the wind, which we'll revisit in a second. But these leaves come from the same tree. The one on your left, the yellow one, has been off the tree for a while, so it's lost its color. And then the one on the right is what you would normally see right now, the nice green leaf. Now, these trees are along rivers, near water. They thrive in that. And if you look at the leaf, the yellow one on the left, notice that white substance. That's what we refer to as that cotton. It looks like cotton balls. And inside of that, you can see like a little green seed. So that's how they get dispersed. All that cotton, or that cotton, if you will, gets blown in the wind because it's so lightweight, and then the seed falls into the ground and germinates and grows. So these are cottonwood leaves. These leaves come from a tree called Boxelder. Now, Boxelder is another tree that likes to be near water. I included this picture because some people confuse this with poison ivy. Sometimes it comes in groups of 3 and have that shape like poison ivy. But not to be confused, it is a tree, not poisonous, not poison ivy, but a boxelder. This is one of my favorite leaves. It comes from a redbud tree. Can you look at this leaf and guess what shape it is? Yeah, it looks like a heart. I remember it because hearts are red, or we color hearts red, and the name is redbud, so that's how I can make the connection. This is a redbud. from all those photos, you can see there's so many different types of trees, and we only talked about a handful. There are so many other types of trees out here at the Nature Center and around your area. We just don't have time to go through them all. So I encourage you to do some exploration of your own in your backyard, at your local park, places you visit often. And pay attention to those trees and look for all those different features that we share with you on those leaves that we took pictures of. Hopefully you learned about the different parts of a tree, the importance of trees both for us and for wildlife. So thanks for tuning in this week for Discovery Club. I hope you have a great day and rest of the week, and come back here again next Friday for another edition of Discovery Club. Have a great day. Bye.